Behind the Mask or A Woman's Power, a lecture by Sketch Diaz. Hello there, I'm Sketch Diaz and I will be presenting my lecture. Today I'm going to focus on Behind the Mask or A Woman's Power. So, for my question, I asked, how does gender play a factor in Behind the Mask or A Woman's Power? So, first of all, before we go into the question, we need to understand gender theory. So, gender theory is basically what we think of when we think of a certain gender. So, if I automatically think of a female, I will most likely think, oh, she's going to be like a good mother when she grows up, or she's going to have a lot of babies. Or even, look how innocent and pure she is. Now, if I said that to a man, that would actually be socially contradicting him. So, when we think of men, we usually think of them as like giant, masculine hunters, because that's what we grew up with. Fathers and brothers and any of the male species were supposedly higher than any of its feminine counterparts. So no matter what, the male will come up on top of this social chain that we call gender. However, gender should only be used to refer in social and cultural constructions of masculinity and feminine, but not to think of them as being a female or a male in its entirety. So what I just said was gender is basically what we think of stereotypically, but it should not be the main idea that this is what being a male or female is all about. Because now we have multiple genders. We have transgender, we have non-binary. So this kind of makes gender a little bit more complicated. But still, we could use the same words I said to describe another person. So instead of saying, oh, look how motherly she is, with that kid, I could say, wow, look how fatherly he could be, how fatherly he is to that kid. Now, the difference is that I only switched the gender pronouns. Well, I'm still describing the same person, but I flipped the gender. And either way, gender, while it is important to discover gender, it's also important to understand and analyze, like, where did we get these stereotypes from? So, we mostly get these based on how we were raised and by history. Because for as long as anyone can remember, women were always at the bottom because they were the housewives, they were the cooks, they were the doctors. They were everything you needed in order to survive. And for the males, they were almost entirely the protectors of women because they went out to go get food. They protected their families. They were basically the head of the household. Now, I'm going to get into the book. So, in Behind a Mask or A Woman's Power, we have our protagonist, John Muir. Now, John Muir is a governess for Bella, who happens to be the daughter of the Canterbury family, who needs a governess. Now, what exactly is a governess? Basically, it's kind of like a teacher / babysitter. Now, John Muir isn't who we think she is. She is actually an actor who actually makes all the men in the Controversy household to turn against one another and winning the family fortune through marriage. So, as I said before, how does gender play a factor in this book? Well, first of all, we're going to analyze chapter 1. In chapter 1, and I quote, "Of course everyone looked at her then, and all felt a touch of pity at the sight. Poverty seemed to have set its bond stamp upon her, and life to have had for her more frost and sunshine." Now, what that says is, she is playing the innocent type. She's allowing everyone to think that she is a weak woman and that she is not meant for anyone like her, that she's grateful, that she's a good person. And that works because she plays everyone in the house, including Bella. In the beginning, Bella was like, "Oh, hey, I get a new friend. Yay!" But as we slowly progress into the story, we soon find John Muir slowly and surely becoming a higher person than Bella. And she starts to ignore her and feel like Bella is just wasting her time while she goes to pursue these men. There are 3 men we need to take into account for: Gerald Controversy, aka Controversy, Edward Controversy, or Ned, and finally John Controversy, or aka Sir John. Now, it's clear that she's working for a family of high power. And in order to have more power, you need to be the oldest basically the oldest person there, and male, of course. Can't forget about being male. Now, throughout the book, appearing like harmless, she surely weasels her way into the hearts of these 3 men. So, first off was actually Ned, who falls for her. Now, Ned fell for her when she interacts with the horse. So, after that, he becomes more twisted in her web of lies. But with Gerald, or most oftenly known as Comfortry, when he's not being referred to by his first name, he's actually very skeptical of her, but she still finds a way to woo and win him over. And finally, John, she uses that love in order to turn all the men against each other and marries the uncle. But the reason she chooses the uncle is because the uncle has the highest power of the family. He outranks Gerald and Edward. Therefore, she marries the head of the house. Now, why go through all of this? Well, John Muir is poor and she needs money. She's at least 30 years old, which back then was like grandma age. So, in order to keep living and to survive, she uses what tools she has, aka her acting, her costume, and her way to become someone else. She uses all these things in order to make everyone love her. So, what can we take away from this? Could we take away that the fact women get a lot more away with stuff than a man would? Could we also take away the fact that this only reveals what women do to men sometimes, not all the time? Not all women are this cunning or this slick. Or perhaps could we take in fact that because we believe that women were automatically less superior, therefore less of a threat back then, women back then could use these same tactics in order to live a good life and enjoy the finer things in life without having to work for it as much as a man would have to do. Because back then, a man could only get what he wanted if he put hard work into it. But for women, all we have to do is charm them. Thank you for watching.